So, every time I watch that video, there's two things that it makes me think. The first thing it makes me think, which maybe you all were thinking as you were watching the video, is, oftentimes, or maybe most times, there's a pretty fine line between success and failure, mission possible and mission impossible. Sometimes it's in your hands and sometimes it's out of your hands, right? There's oftentimes a pretty fine line, so I think we can all agree on that. And I know another thing that I think we can all agree on, and that is that song's probably going to be stuck in your head the rest of the night. That's my gift to you. You're welcome. So we're here tonight to talk about change, and it's always around us. We can't escape it. And there's a saying that says the more things change, the more they stay the same, the more they are the same, right? Very specifically by Alphonse Karr. And so we've all heard the phrase, right? It's kind of cliche. The sad truth is that there's a lot more truth in this than not. When 70% or more of change initiatives are failing in organizations today, research is showing us that when we interview and survey change leaders and folks just like yourself in the project management community, 70% or more of projects fail to reach their objectives or their goals. So that's why it's the same, because nothing changed. We go through all the effort, we go through all the consternation, we go through all the money, and lo and behold, we're back where we were at the beginning. When you step back and you think about it, maybe there's a good reason for that. And we're going to address some of those causes this evening, but the reason that strikes me is this. In many of our companies, if not all of our companies, we thrive on and expect compliance. We thrive on and expect people to stay to the structure, stay to the process, stay to the defined way of working, the one source of truth, the one way of doing it properly. This is what we should do. Who here has an ISO quality system that you're following in your organization? Some formal quality system, right? That's going to guide the types of things that you do. So when we look at people at the end of the year and do their performance appraisals, what's one of the things we're looking at? How compliant was Troy? Did he follow the procedures, or was he always trying to bowl in someone else's alley at the bowling lanes, right? Or did we always have to tell him, get back in lane 27, Troy, that's where you're supposed to be bowling? So when we ask people to do things differently, it should surprise no one that they question, why are we wanting to do things differently? And they put up a bit of resistance. It's just the way it is when you think about it. So what are the two, number one and number two reasons that change initiatives are failing at that rate of 70%? The biggest one at 39% of the respondents said that it's negative employee attitudes. They just don't want to change. Well, we just talked about why they don't want to change, because we ask them every other day to stay the same. And the other is that the management behaviors aren't in line with what it takes to make change successful. The management behaviors. It's interesting, isn't it? That's where we're going to spend most of our time today, is talking about the behaviors that progressive and successful change leaders adopt and use in their organizations to make change successful. And I spent most of my corporate career in one way, shape, or form leading projects and managing projects. And I used to share with my coworkers all the time, being a project manager was one of the greatest positions you could have in a company, because everyone worked for you, but no one reported to you. So you didn't have to do budgets, you didn't have to do performance appraisals, none of that hiring and firing and interviewing and all that sort of stuff. But man, oh man, you had big teams working for you, and you had a great opportunity to influence the behaviors of others. There was many a day that I would go home from work and tell my wife, this role of being a project manager would be a lot easier if it wasn't for the people. Leadership's really hard when it comes to the people side. The other stuff is all fun and games, right? When you get to build new buildings and implement new software and implement new automation or whatever you're doing out in the factory. But the fact of the matter still comes back to, how well are we doing as leaders? What are our behaviors? Be it in organizational leadership or in project leadership, how are our behaviors contributing to the success? Dave Ramsey says, Organizations are never limited by their opportunity. They're limited by their leadership. And in my eyes, what I hear Dave saying is the leader sets the tone. The leader really sets the tone. And I didn't get this early in my career. I, almost on a daily basis, feel compelled to write apology notes for the people that worked for me in the first 2 years of my management career, because I was terrible as I look back at it now. I thought I had to be the smartest person in the room. I thought I had to be the genius. I thought it was acceptable to tell other people what they should do without asking their opinion, because that's what managers do, right? We sit in our office with, whose name's on the door? Mine. My name's not theirs. My name's on the door. Who's got the title behind their name? Me. I was setting the wrong tone. And it strikes me today that there are some great ways that a leader can set the tone in an organization in order to drive the desired outcomes and the desired behaviors from the people that work in those organizations. And so I'm curious what you think about how a leader such as yourself in positions and roles that you have today, what are ways that you can set the tone? What are the behaviors that you can adopt that are going to help you be part of the 30% of the change that's being successful and not the 70%? I'm going to give you a minute to think about that. Now, I'd like some feedback from you on what you think. So let me give you a minute to think about how the leader sets the tone. And if anybody wants to counter afterwards, I'll give me your card. I'll send you that by email. So how does a leader set the tone? Think about it. What is it that a leader can do to extract or inspire those desired behaviors out of the people on their projects? What can you do? So a minute's a long time, isn't it? A minute's really a long time. So what do you think? How can you as a leader, sir?
Well, I think one of the things to do to start off, to build on what you said, name on the door and so forth, is really to step back and create a culture of openness and inclusion. So the name kind of comes off the door. I mean not the physical off the door,
right,
but the management structure off
right,
the door. And you reward ideas, and there's no bad idea. So with the name on the door, and if your idea doesn't match your boss, that's an environment.
Yeah,
that's the
right.
opposite of what we're trying to get to.
Exactly.
So it's really is leaders need to be part of that 30% that are open to change, and influence the other 70%, and create an environment of openness and inclusiveness. And that takes time. You don't change culture.
Sure does.
Today, but you got to be willing to go on that road and be willing to take risks. Because if you're in an if you're in the 30%, which is the minority, the 70% could gang up on you. So
That's right.
You've got to take those risks.
That's right. So a couple of takeaways there, big takeaways. Openness to new ideas, right? And not feeling that, again, genius surrounded by 1,000 helpers. That's not the role we're getting at. And when I worked at Respironics, just to show you a little bit, and this was not a setup. He didn't know I was going to pull a t-shirt out here. We fostered that idea creation process. And we rewarded it in a really interesting way. So I worked for Respironics. You had to have the Respironics logo to be able to wear this to work. And these were the shirts that we gave to people that took the risk, that had the courage to give us an idea for how we could do things better and how we could do things differently. And when they would wear these in the factory or around the office, it was the expectation of leadership that when we saw one of these, we would walk up to the person and ask them what they did to deserve such a shirt. So that openness finds rewards in a number of different ways, not just by the shirt, but by the recognition that comes along with it. So openness is really a big piece of it. And another one that you talked about was just being available and being there for people to talk to. So when we go see animals, what's the best way to see an animal a wild animal. Where would you want to see a wild animal? If you were just observing, man, we're
in their natural habitat.
in their natural habitat. So you're saying you wouldn't want to see them in a cage in the back of this room. It wouldn't be as interesting to you. Would it be as interesting for them? No, unlikely, right? Especially if it was an animal that wasn't intended to be caged. So when we want to go have fun, when we want to enjoy ourselves, we want to go see the animals in their natural habitat. Why don't we do that as leaders? Why do we expect the people to come find us? Why do we expect them to knock on our door at our office? Why do we expect to hold the meetings in our offices? Why do we expect them to deliver everything to us? We should be just like that safari goer that goes into the natural habitat and is that person that's getting out there and going to see, right? Isn't that an interesting way to set the tone, to say you're important enough for me to take time to come out and see you? Maybe you have that shirt on and I'm going to ask you what you did. Do you imagine the way a person's face lights up when someone walks up to them with one of these shirts on and puts their hand on their shoulder and says, "What'd you do? What'd you do? Tell me all about it." It's kind of a cool experience. I did it 100 times if I did it once. It was awesome. How else can a leader set the tone? How else can a project manager set the tone for success?
Well, empowering their team, their subordinates, and valuing their opinions. So that on one project I had here in Portland a little while ago, I did the people that worked on the team, they knew more about their specific part of it than I did. I'd say, how long does it take to do this? What do you need?
Right.
And just keep asking those questions, and I would integrate that into the plan.
Absolutely. There's no doubt that empowering nature adds to the outcome of the project. Because it's kind of interesting when people know that there's going to be an opportunity for them to provide input, or maybe even in fact, they know that you're going to call on them for input or request their input. It's really interesting when you have the opportunity to sit back and observe, because they pay attention a lot greater. They're not fussing as much. They're not whatever.
The second time they come up and they volunteer ideas.
You got that right. You got that right. Because you've begun to build that trust, and the other thing is you're helping them take a little taste of courage. You said there's a lot of risk, that you're taking risk, and right, there's no change that happens without risk. But risk brings on other emotions that are kind of scary, right? So the more that we can address that risk through positive reinforcement, not just from you, but also from others, that's great. It's a great way to set the tone. It's not easy, but it's very powerful whenever you do it,
I didn't
right?
make a choice.
Great.
They did more than I did.
That's awesome. So you didn't feel like you were the genius surrounded by the 1,000 helpers. You knew that wasn't the case.
Right.
That's great. One more idea. How else can a project manager set the tone inside of a project as you're working towards success? Sir?
You do your homework.
Do your homework. Okay, so tell me a little bit more.
I think the leader should know more than anybody else and say less than anybody else. So when you do your homework, you know how to set up systems that are going to be responsive, supportive, and useful to people. As part of your homework is talking to the people who are where the nitty meets the gritty.
Right, exactly. So you said a really interesting thing in the second part of that, and say very little, right, and talk very little. You know, when you take that concept and you dissect it a little bit, you learn very little by listening to only yourself talk. How much more do you learn by listening to just yourself talk? I would suggest nothing. In fact, you might get turned off, by who you are and what you're talking about. So, what we're here to talk about is change and getting good at change. And so admitting that change is hard and admitting that we have our challenges with change is the hard part, because we have to question, are we any good at it? When 70% of change efforts are failing, that's what we're going to talk about here this evening, is a system, or at least some tips for how you as a leader, you as a project manager, are able to be more effective at change. And before we get any further, I know that Jim told you about my dogs, Rudy and Pete, but what he didn't tell you about was my third dog, and this is Thad. And I'm not the most creative guy, I'm an engineer, so stick with me. Three-headed dog. Right? So this is Thad. This is my buddy Thad, three-headed dog. We don't keep him in a cage. You go see him in his natural habitat, right? And see, the three heads on Thad are you, your team, and the company. There's a very interesting physiologic and psychologic dynamic that happens with a three-headed dog, much like your organization. No matter how much they bark and bite and snarl and scratch, or just even turn their head and say, I'm not even going to look at you, I'm had it. They only have one body and one set of legs. And to make any progress, forward or dare say even backward progress, there has to be consensus. There has to be compromise. There has to be decisions that are made. Because if the three heads can never come to some consensus, nothing will ever happen except chaos. Right? And when we think about that, who are we really serving? We're serving the customers, we're serving the employees, and we're serving whatever the shareholders or stakeholders are in your business. And recognizing that compromise and decision making and total consensus may not always be the perfect answer, but there has to be some answer in order for progress to move forward. Organizations are much like a three-headed dog. Fortunately or unfortunately, they are. And so change is upon us, and change is always here. It's fairly cliche to say, you know, change is always around us, but change can be pretty scary too, right? And when you step back and you analyze some of the reasons why 70% of change initiatives fail, here's my leading theory on what happens. When we're faced with change, it gets a little scary. And we as humans, in fact, if you take a look at animals, it's the same sort of thing. When you're faced with a changing environment, when you're faced with changing requirements, the very first thing that we focus on, the very first thing we concentrate on is self-preservation. Am I going to be safe? Am I, personally, going to be able to survive this? Am I going to be okay? And as we work through that process, we find ourselves sometimes starting to rationalize that the status quo isn't so bad. Because the risk, it might not be worth it. We might get hurt. We might fall in the process. We might falter as we go through it. And as we rationalize the status quo, we start convincing ourselves that maybe we don't need to change. And we put all those benefits that could be had by making a transformation at risk. All those benefits that we could have suddenly go away because we are trying to protect ourselves. And if you give me permission to lump humans in and amongst all other animals in the world, research has shown that humans take the longest to adapt to changing conditions of all animals. Now, it might be because we don't have cheetahs and lions and all that chasing us, right? And our food is just a cabinet away or a refrigerator away. We don't have to go days without eating. But it's the truth. We struggle with adapting to change. Oftentimes the smallest of change in our business. And I still haven't figured this out, because our employees will go out and race cars on the weekend. They'll do these mud runs. You see these yellow wires? These are electrified. He paid money to do this, to run through electrified wires. They'll climb rocks. They'll get up here on a pretty sketchy situation on a ladder with no one holding the ladder at the bottom. And the biggest one of all is that people will, by choice, by happy choice, decide to have children. You talk about risk. You talk about scary. You talk about self-preservation. Who's ever had a day with their kids that has just said, I just hope I come out the back end of this, right? I'm not sure I'm even going to make it through the day. You look like you've had one of those days, right? So what are they afraid of? They're taking risks all the time. They have courage really often. They know how to stir that up inside of them. It comes back to the quote that we had earlier. It's not the lack of opportunity, it's the lack of leadership. We expect employee engagement on our projects and in our organizations. Shouldn't our employees expect that we are engaging leaders in return? I suggest that employee engagement is not the problem. It's engaging leaders where our opportunity is. That we have leaders that are engaging the employees because they're still showing up every day. They want to do good things. Most of the time they're doing things right. They could be doing it more right, more often. So let me ask you this question. And I love this guy because he has hair. I just think this is really awesome. So let me ask you this question. What is it that is putting up that resistance with our employees? What is it that is promoting some form of resistance in our employees when we ask for either organizational, process, or technology change in our companies? What is it? What's prompting them to not be comfortable? Yes, sir.
I think a huge part of it, by no means all of it, is they're not in control of the environment. If the environment is something they have to plug into, it's, for most people, their livelihood. And if you put that livelihood at risk, there is instant, huge fear.
Sure.
It's an immense barrier.
Okay.
And if they don't have any control over that risk, there's no anchor for them.
Sure.
They don't want to.
So that uncertainty is pretty
Yeah.
heavy on them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I totally agree with everything you said, and I think that the component too is an interesting change is introducing managed change. So you take the human aspect, go back to the Maslow hierarchy of needs that you were referring to earlier, and ensuring that as the change goes on, folks know that they will somehow fit into the picture.
Right.
So their basic needs for food and shelter and whatnot are
Yeah,
all
right.
taken
All
care
those
of.
basic needs are there.
Yeah.
Right. What else? Why else do we see? Yes, ma'am.
Sometimes territorialism. I know my world really well right now, and I'm
Right.
comfortable where I am, and
Right.
you're making me.
How dare you? Almost, right? Yeah. Right. As the founder of the company I used to work for at Respironics, he used to say, "Don't risk my shares." Right? What else? Why else are people resisting or putting up a barrier, sir?
It can be a threat to their power. They have
Oh.
there's a certain power structure, and
Yes,
and that's,
right.
they're comfortable in that. All of a sudden, that's what.
Right. That's at risk. They might lose that. Right? Sir?
Long-term experience with bad managers.
Oh, okay. So tell me a little more about that.
If you look out there, the percentages, there's a lot of managers who, it's the top down, whack them on the head, grab the whip. Something goes wrong, they get thrown under the bus. There's all those experiences that people get, or they watch their coworkers get, and
Right.
yeah, they don't want it to be them.
Yeah, right. I've seen this episode before.
It's one of those things where a few bad manager acts, it takes a lot of repair to undo.
Yeah, it does.
It's like integrity. It's harder to gain integrity than to lose it.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. One more, sir.
I would think one of the real problems is people don't see any particular reward for the inconvenience or discomfort they're gonna have to undergo.
Okay. So what's in it for me?
Yeah, exactly.
What's in it for me? Right. So
Whatever the benefit is goes to the company or to somebody else.
Sure.
All it does is cause me inconvenience.
right. So we have to address that
Yes.
as leaders.
Or show them there's gotta be a reward in it.
Sure. Right. So these are all great things, and I suggest from the smiles and the head nods I'm seeing around the room, many of you experience these same sorts of things. And this is why we're here today, to talk about this subject, to try and find ways to not prevent that from happening, but to address it and expect it. If we expect it, we're that much more prepared. So how we doing? Everybody okay so far? You good? You won't hurt my feelings if you want to get a drink or go to the restroom, so do what you have to do. This is the picture you get when you Google curious ostrich, if you ever feel inclined to do such a thing. So love playing this game, Fact or Crap. We're going to play a little bit of Fact or Crap here today. I play this a lot with my nieces and nephews. It's a good way, especially this past winter with the weather, we've all been having to pass the time. So Fact or Crap, managing and coping with change is the #1 critical issue facing organizations today. What do you think? Fact or crap? Fact. Yeah, it is a fact. This was a study done by the Institute for Corporate Productivity, I4CP. If you're into this sort of thing, I think I4CP has some of the best research and some of the best white papers out there on organizational change and organizational dynamics. Really like these folks. And most of their research is free to you. But if you take a look at the 2013 data, and I'll tell you the 2014 data was pretty much the same, the #1 and #2 issues facing organizations, as told to them by almost 700 senior executives in corporations in the United States, have to do with change, and 3 of the top 10, 3 of the top 6 in fact, have to deal with change. So change is a big deal inside of organizations. I guess it should be when 70% of it's failing. It ought to be on our radar screen, right? So this got me thinking about, well, what are the success factors for successful change management? And I'll throw a few of them out at you, and then we'll look at an interesting perspective on these factors? Well, the first factor is you need executive sponsorship. Great, we know that. You need frequent and open communication. We talked about that already. You want a structured approach to your change management process. Don't just wing it every time and make it up as you go along. You want somewhat of a structured approach to it. And you want dedicated resources where you can have them. And it shouldn't just be pigeonholed in with everything else. It should be something that's planned, right? Okay, I think we can agree on these 4 so far. We want employee engagement and employee participation. Your example was a great one on that, right? We need everybody else because you're not the smartest guy in the room.
I may be the smartest guy, but I'm not the most knowledgeable guy about that stuff.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
And he's humble.
Give this man a prize. Give him one of those prizes. You're good. Yeah, see, Andy's humble.
And
Yeah,
I may not be the smartest guy in the room either. But,
yeah. It's case by case, right?
But it's the issue was they knew more about their job than I did,
Yeah, no kidding.
and
No
their areas
kidding.
of specialization. They'd done it more than I had.
Sure, sure. And that's very commonly the case. Very commonly the case, right? And then the last one, engagement and support from middle management. Because middle management is usually the group that is assigned the responsibility and sometimes the authority to make it happen. Sometimes. But let's look at the interesting dynamic here. 6 success factors of change, and this was the benchmark study I looked at in 2012. 5 of those 6 are entirely people-centric. Entirely people-centric. If you think about a triangle that has at its 3 points, people, process, and technology. We've all gotten to where we're at in our organizations, the success we've had, because we're experts at process and technology in some way, shape, or form. The people point of the triangle is where change is the most successful. Because you can buy technology anywhere. You can adopt process from anywhere. But you can't buy people. It takes you, the leader, setting that tone. And that's the part that scared me the most when I got into leadership. I have an engineering background. I'm a mechanical and aerospace engineer. I was a rocket scientist, for crying out loud, for 5 years. People didn't matter to me. Going up in space mattered to me, right? And people scare me. Well, you people, I love you. But people in general, as a leader, scared me. And I had to overcome that to be able to get on the 30% side of change management. Because change brings on unknowns, and those unknowns bring on a certain amount of anxiety, and we've talked about that already. And that anxiety brings on resistance because of the uncertainty of, am I going to make it out the back end, just like a day with the children or a day with the grandchildren, whatever it might be, right? So they bring on unknowns, they bring on anxiety, and they bring on resistance. And maybe you've seen this before. Change is a process, not an event. It's true. I believe it. But I more believe that transition is a process, not an event. It's the transition that we're trying to manage. The particular change may not be the challenge, right? That day that you throw the switch from J.D. Edwards over to SAP, that may not be the problem. Although that's a big deal. I've been there. That's a big deal. It's the transition, getting to that point, and the transition moving away from that point that's the big deal. And the same thing goes for resistance. Resistance can happen at any stage of a project. It doesn't just happen on the day you announce the change. It can happen at any step along the way. We have to be prepared for that. So what I want to do now to help us transition into a little bit of what can you do about it. To this point we've been talking about, what is it? What's the dragon we're trying to slay? What's the 3-headed monster we're trying to get moving in the right direction, right? The 3-headed dog. Let's talk about change a little bit. And, isn't this how we all plan our projects? That this is what they're going to look like. A defined starting point, a defined ending point, nice smooth journey in between. We'll be smelling the flowers, hearing the birds. Man, oh man, it's going to be a great day. And then we get out there on the path and this is what it looks like. Right? It's a mess. It's a freaking mess. This looks like a lot of projects that I was on. And we have all these dips and valleys, and we will make it there. And knowing that that's going to be our reality is part of the challenge. So what I want to show you here is some study work that has been done on high-performing 30% organizations and low-performing, or what you might consider 70% organizations. People that are struggling, organizations that are struggling with change. And when we look at the change cycle here of high-performing organizations, it starts out as you would expect it. with some awareness and some understanding, some questioning. Okay, we're going to go there, and then, oh, wait a minute. I'm not really sure that I like all that's going on. And so we get to talking with people and get some idea of what they're thinking. And then we decide on a course of action, and the rest is all uphill. And we get on with the doing and get on with the change. Look at the difference in the shape. High-performing organization, low-performing organization. 30% organization, 70% organization. Let's see what these bullet points look like. Wild euphoria. Woohoo! We're making change. Growing concern. Near total disillusionment. Unmitigated disaster. Search for the guilty. Punishment of the innocent. And promotion of the uninvolved. Anybody ever been there? Right? So it starts out great, but man, it crashes in a hurry, doesn't it? And then you come out the back end kind of saying, all right, let's just bury this thing in the leaves and move on and nobody will get hurt, right? So, but in all seriousness, when you take a look at these two change process, these two change methodology profiles, what do you see as the key difference? What's the thing that jumps out at you the most? What did one do that the other one didn't? What did the high-performing organization do that the low-performing didn't?
I don't know if the organizations in were high-performing, but the ones that seemed to get more done and leave less carnage were more employee-centric. When I say employee-centric, they were open to ideas. They gave incentives. Similar things to T-shirts and so forth.
Yeah.
It ranged from novelty items like that to spot bonuses. I remember three lives ago, I was able to give up to $10,000 bonuses to people. So if somebody else comes with a really great idea, you walk up to them and you hand them a check for 10 grand.
Wow. Can I trade this in on 10 grand?
Yeah.
I'll give you a shirt. It's a really nice shirt. It's clean. I washed it yesterday. It's really cool.
Yeah, as long as it's never fucking budget. What do you do? Things like that. It's contagious. Not only motivates that one person, it motivates across people.
Sure it does.
Across organizations. So
right.
That's what I've seen in organizations that they still go through the bumps you show in the other one.
Yeah.
They weren't quite as deep. The valleys went maybe 10 feet versus, to the abyss.
Right.
And out.
Right. And I think a key piece of it is whenever one of those bumps is hit, this is what they did. They didn't let it go on too long. They suggested where they wanted to go. They listened to what everybody had to say. They took in the ideas because even though they may have